Have you ever wondered how much meat you can get from butchering pigs from your own property? Today we're going to share with you the ups and the downs and the delicious rewards of our pig processing process.
So as we sit here in front of what we're going to show you here in a bit, this freezer full of pork, just give you a quick backstory. We started raising pigs in 2020. It was actually before the pandemic hit, was whenever we got our first piglets. Those were awesome. They were just mutts, like some red wattle mutts. Then we went to some extreme mutts, two females that we got from our neighbors. Those pigs actually came out really yummy. Some of the best pork can come from a mutt pig. Then the pandemic really hit hard, like in 2021, and I started having this thought of, I think we need to breed pigs so that we can have some sustainable meat here on our property. We didn't have Goldie, our milk cow, then. So did some research. I settled with the Idaho pasture pigs, and this is actually our first experience of eating that Idaho pasture pig pork.
If you asked me how I felt about becoming pig farmers, breeding them right here on our property, having two that we would manage and all of their litters, I still feel the same today. And here's why we decided to stop breeding Idaho pastured pigs. The story goes like this. We get these two pigs. The male is adorable, absolutely precious. And then we get the female, who's a little more skittish. We think she'll come around, she'll be fantastic. She's a little bit small, but she's gonna do great. We'll just love her into goodness. Apparently you cannot love pigs into goodness. Our boar is beautiful. He is gentle, as if you had like a puppy, not even like a full-grown dog at this point. He is 4 years old and still so tender, so gentle, such good manners. He is fantastic. And we still have him with the hopes of maybe he will continue the line down the line for us, or he'll go off to be someone else's fantastic boar because he's just Bill the Perfect. He's wonderful. Missy, on the other hand, was always a little bit less desirable. She didn't have the same personality traits. She produced, but she really only produced about 4 pigs at the beginning. So like the very first litter, she was a good mom. Like she didn't hurt them. She was very patient with them, very attentive, but she had a really, really small litter. And then as the litters went on, I think we had 3 or 4. We had a few breeders out of them, but we had more feeders, which is good. We want to be selective. We don't want to put, poor genetics into reproduction. But it came to the time when we needed to make decisions about these feeder pigs. So for a minute, we had these 2 feeder pigs that were going past their prime. Then we had Missy, who was way past her prime as far as like age goes. With our original pigs, they were like 9 months, feed them, get them to the butcher. These ones are like, oh, they're gonna take a lot longer. They're gonna be marbled meat. This is all gonna be worth it in the end. So 18 months later is when our target was really locked in. We knew at 18 months, we were gonna take these pigs to the butcher. We were gonna have better than beef pork. So as these 2 feeder pigs are growing up, we're looking at Missy and we're just like, I don't know. I don't know if we love you for this breeding line. I don't know if we want to continue your genetics. You're not really that impressive. So we come down to the decision, we're going to butcher Missy. And then somehow it snowballs into, not only are we going to process her, we're gonna butcher her, but we're gonna decide to be butchers ourselves. So the downslope from pigs and raising them to then becoming pig farmers, and then all of a sudden you're a butcher, is like very slippery. This is 0 to 60. Like this is a fast downward spiral, guys. I don't know how we found ourselves in this position.
I do. And even though Kelly and I are wearing the same color, I'm just realizing, Kelly comes to me and says, yep, I want Missy gone next week.
I'm tired of feeding this pig.
Just as a husband who's in charge of providing food for their family.
Gone next week?
Yes, your words.
I'm interested to hear your timeline on this.
There was a moment, she says, I want Missy gone next week. And so she's about to go to her big North Carolina trip.
Not how it happened.
And I was like, okay, whoa, I got to figure that out. We have a livestock trailer, but unfortunately the livestock trailer, the back door where you're actually going to load the animal in, the hinge is broken, like it just cracked. Let me call Ben Holler, let me do some research. It seemed like it was a good opportunity for us to attempt to butcher a pig on our property for the very first time.
That's not how that happened.
Everybody's gonna say that butchering a hog is not that big of a deal, that it's actually one of the easiest animals to butcher. We've done rabbits, we've done chickens, but it was not the greatest experience. And we're gonna go ahead and put the full video on our Patreon, because we can't put it here, of a full experience of how Missy's processing was. The kill was phenomenal. It was great. It couldn't have gone any better. Lights out like that. Super clean, no suffering. We've had stories of that going really bad, where you have to chase a pig. That was not it. We took our time, we fed her milk, that was it. She was as happy can be, and then she was gone. So that gives me peace that that went good. The actual butchering did not go well. We tried, I talked to Ben, and he said you need to scald and scrape. And then once we started to actually have to clean her, like get the guts out, that I messed up and I didn't know what I was doing. Then once it got to the meat, like you gotta split the pig. I should have used my reciprocating saw, my Sawzall. I wanted to be like hand hewn farm and like be a romantic and do the bone saw. That was bad. Then we tried to get the meat inside. It's in Texas, it's hot here. So even in April, we had sweaters on in the beginning of the morning, but then by that time, it took so long.
80, 75 degrees.
Flies started coming, so we had to go buy ice and then come back and try to put the carcass on ice. So then we're cutting through like wet, hairy meat, and there was no fat. Missy had no fat. There was no leaf fat. Here, look. I'm gonna give you a preview so that you know to stick with us. This is a giant thing of fat.
This is probably 3 pounds.
And I think we have 4 of these. Missy had 0. There was no fat.
Yeah, after looking at this thing, you're like, we could have just skinned her.
Yeah, because she's just not fatty at all. Both of us going into it felt, oh, we got to get this right. We got to get this right. And it just
The tractor worked great,
so well.
Moving her, like all of those things were easy. It was
the things you could learn ahead of time.
the things that people say is the hard part. Went very smooth for us.
Yeah, but people also say you can grow zucchini, and I still can't grow zucchinis.
So if not everyone can grow zucchini, not everyone can have a successful pig butchering on their first try. We then had 2 more pigs that were costing us a lot of money. Kelly, I did not agree with this in the beginning, but she was 100% right. Kelly said, I was thinking like, these pigs are not growing, just like Missy, they're not getting fat. What is happening? I was very stingy. I was not feeding them enough. It's like they're like a human. They don't just slowly put on the weight over time. You have to get them fat and get them big fast. You have to fatten them up. I don't know why. I think there's just a lot going on that I wasn't able to think of everything. And I was thinking of finances. So Kelly said, hey, our finances are fixed with these pigs. Why don't we front load those finances and just get them fat for a month, feed them a lot of food. So what we ended up was doing 4 pounds per pig per day. And that did it.
Well, we'd been doing 2.
Yeah.
2 pounds. So we literally doubled that, and we'd removed Missy from the group feed. So it was just 2 pigs at 4 pounds per day.
We decided we were gonna take them to freezer camp, and we decided that it was gonna be in June. So we were not gonna do these 2. We were gonna take them to a local butcher. So the next step was to load them in the trailer. For those of you who have been here for a while, you might remember our first pig loading experience. The second time we did the 2 female pigs, that went really well. Like I would still have that anxiety, so that I made sure I didn't make any mistakes. And we got them in first try. That was a piece of cake.
Now how do I do this?
This time, I was super cocky. I was like, I know exactly what I'm doing. I said,
I would
Kelly,
throw at this.
bring me an alcoholic beverage. I'm going to sit here in my lawn chair and I'm going to load my pigs up. A tip for loading pigs, we've learned that marshmallows are a great thing. I know that you're about to eat this or beyond organic animal, so you're giving them marshmallows. It doesn't really make sense, but they load into the trailer very easily. So we started giving them some feed, some milk, some marshmallows. They start sniffing around. Yes, I should have created a chute for them, but we've done it this way and it actually has worked, and it doesn't give them pressure. It doesn't like scare them. It doesn't stress them. I like that. I successfully was able to get them into the trailer in about like an hour and a half, something like that. What I was cocky about is I didn't fully test all of the things with the trailer because we borrowed our friend's trailer. And once I got it shut, I don't know if it was the wine that I was drinking that night that got me like too happy and not stressed, but it wouldn't shut and I couldn't lock it. So I had to like release the pressure. They escaped. And I wasn't stressed about it because I knew that I was going to get them back in. It took me 2 more days to be able to get them in. I had to reschedule the butcher. Somehow, with more milk, more feed, more time, and just being patient, we were, and a ramp. We got like a little platform that helped get them in. We finally got them into the trailer. And this is one of the happiest things as a man, as a husband, to see, to experience, is bringing home
the bacon.
And then seeing my wife do your thing.
Let's be specific. I like to pack stuff. I'm saying I like to pack stuff, literally. I like organization. I like loading the car up for a long trip. I like creating order in the freezer. It is just that simple.
Boston butt.
Fat.
There's never enough freezer space for what you think you need. And it's really difficult with the freezer space we have, especially since we've chosen this like tiny house lifestyle. It's especially challenging to keep things moving in your freezer. So it's so important to be mindful about what you're growing, what you're harvesting, and how those times play out. So when Bo says, I'm gonna go get these pigs, I'm super excited about it because we needed meat in our freezer. Like we were already going to Costco and buying ground beef. Now I have ground pork. So that does adjust what I'm going to cook over the next few months because I'm gonna have pork in my freezer instead of as much beef. Then in the fall, when we go to raise our chickens, we'll probably do about 100 chickens this year. Maybe even do a chicken butchering workshop now that we've had so many of them under our belt. But that'll look like
Link below.
That'll look like late October. Right now I know that one pig that is the size of the pigs that we just butchered will last us between 4 and 8 months. So 2 pigs should last us plenty of time, plus have a lot of food that we can take to our gatherings or friends coming over or family who needs meat, whatever. So we have ample meat to share and provide for our community as well. Then come October, we're gonna have room in the freezers for those chickens that we're processing to come on in. So this took a little bit of Jenga, a little bit of like moving things around, kind of like rearranging furniture in all 3 of the freezers, plus a new fridge that we got that has small drawer freezer at the bottom of it.
Here we go. It's a little bit deeper than our other one, but it was the
Only one that fit the closest.
So we had a little bit of places that we could move things around, kind of do a dance, and then I guess it's less moving furniture and more like musical chairs. The pressure is on when the meat gets here, but it's frozen solid. And the real win here was someone else did the work in a time where we have no business processing pork in June on our property. In the future, I am 100% certain that Bo is going to want to put in a cold room. And when that happens, I also am going to request a sauna as like my reward for finishing pork out or beef out, whatever we do here. Then we go regroup in the sauna. But
Jump in the pool.
that's right, we can jump in the pool. But that said, there are things that we learned in the test of butchering Missy that taught us to be the most responsible with our meat come butchering these two pigs, which was, this is a hot month of the year. We're still amateurs. We don't have someone holding our hands. It's super wise to pass this job off, not because we couldn't cut it. I feel like we can cut it now. I feel like we've earned a new merit badge. But going back to our butcher that we already have a relationship with, and the best news of all is that this filled our freezers. Let's see the meats. This is the first look, then I'll show you the second freezer, and then we even have some in the indoor freezer, like bottom pull-out drawer from our fridge in the house. So we're just gonna spread the love. This one is like a little bit of garden veggie harvest up here. And then this entire shelf has these, I think these are closer to like 3 or 4 pounds of fat. And this was like run through the grinder. So when it comes time to rendering this, it can go like frying cheese sticks and what do we use it for? Oven fries, or if we're making pies, we can render this out so that it doesn't have, if this is the one that doesn't have any like porky smell to it, this will be great for pies. Or we've made like a savory pie, like a chicken pot pie, and that goes really, really well for that. The whole thing in these smaller packages is ground pork. It doesn't have any sausage seasoning to it. Some of them are organ meats, and we can thaw these out and put portions of it in the pork itself. So this is anything for like breakfast or kind of savory fall dishes. This can be seasoned and go on pizza. It's a really good option to break down your pork, especially if there are those cuts you're just not that into. So for us, that's ham. We're not that into picnic steaks. Any of the extra trim goes off and into this ground pork. And then the bottom shelf is a really special shelf because at one point the fridge malfunctioned and the bottom shelf filled with water and then refroze. So we just kind of stack things on top of whatever that mystery meat is from 2 years ago. And right now I stacked on top these soup bones. And then these are all soup bones as well. And then I have a couple of these marrow bones, but this is from a totally different animal. This is from calves that we processed 2 years ago at a much more spency processor. And that's up here and here. So if you don't need your ice maker, you can store meat bones in it. All right, this is the fridge that contains most of the rest. We have a few large cuts in the other freezer. We also have some in our kitchen freezer. But for the most part, this freezer holds it all. So we have pork chops here. These are pretty comparable to what you would buy at the store as far as size goes. So these pigs, again, were like 120, 150. Have a few more garden harvests. Like this is just from our from our garden this year. It needs to be processed. I really like baskets in the freezer because they help you organize stuff. And I like an upright freezer. They're just a little bit riskier to like lose your stuff if it doesn't close. This is one of the pork bellies. So he cut these into quarters, and I think we got a total of 8 of these. Probably, I don't think we got 10 of these. But they're like, here's your fat on the bottom, which is very lean, and then the meat here. So remember, these were not super huge. But I've got...
So that would be turning into bacon or pork bellies.
Slim packaging here. So this was like the jowl bacon, the actual pork bellies, and ribs. And then this is a tenderloin, but I have a feeling he cut these in half because this is pretty small. This is probably like 1.5 pounds. The tenderloin turned out really good on Missy, so I'm like, these are only going to be better. And that's mostly in this basket. And then these are like the pork butts. I'm going to leave them here because they're balancing other things. So there's Boston butt, and then there's the shoulder in here, and then these are some ribs. Or no, these are chops. And then more of the flat things like ribs and bellies. And then just soup bones at the bottom. So this is how it fits into our freezer. But basically we got, alongside of some of our other stuff, 2 freezers totally full of pork out of these 2 pigs. If they were larger, obviously we would need more room.
Okay, so how much meat did we get? These were slightly smaller weighted pigs than we would have wanted, but that's kind of might be the IPP, and I think if we would have done 1 extra month, we would have been even more happier. So the hanging weights were 142 and 122. If you don't understand hanging weights, that's basically once you dispatch the animal and you get all of the innards out, all the guts out, it does include the weight of the head. So that's what the hanging weight is once you get all the guts out. So 142 and 122. So that got us approximately around about, maybe 15 to 20 pounds of bellies. That got us about 22 pounds of pork chops, about 27, maybe 30 pounds of roasts. And then that was around 25 pounds of sausage, and then maybe 15 pounds of that fat. So that's the exciting thing, is that we are very happy with the fat.
Yeah, I think we diversified that pig a lot. We didn't do ground sausage, so that's when a butcher adds in the seasonings, but we don't always care for a butcher's seasonings, and we've been to 3 or 4 different butchers. So I just control that. We make our own seasoning, and then we add that when we're actually cooking the sausage. And then everything else is something either Bo can cook, I can cook, the kids can cook. So we really thought through all of these cuts to make the most of this butcher.
So I would say that we got probably around 130 pounds of just pure pork meat. And then you add in the bones, because we got all of the bones as well, like that stew bone, soup bone.
Yeah. A lot of butchers will also give you the option of bringing home the head. We just didn't have freezer space for it. And honestly, I don't have brain space for figuring out how to use the head.
Would we ever do this full experience again?
The thought of butchering at home again is just 100% not even something my brain can process right now. It's a very hot season of the summer. It's only gonna get hotter. So it's kind of like homesteading for me is very hard to look to the next year. Like, we wouldn't butcher anything until like after Christmas time because our pigs won't be ready anytime close to that. That's hard to deal with because right now I'm thinking of everything that needs to get done in the next season and everything that I need to prepare to homeschool in the next year, which begins in just August. So like, quick, my summer is gone already. Would I want to butcher on property again, principle-wise? Yes, absolutely. I would like us to have that skill. I would like to have us master that skill. I would really enjoy having someone next to us talking us through the process of butchering so that we don't waste it. Because when you are new at something, you're gonna suck at it. Like, you're just gonna be bad at it at first. And usually you have to be comfortable with being bad at things. I'm very comfortable with being bad at it, but when it comes to the meat, it's like an endurance for us. We're so bad at it. And in the end, we don't not only wanna waste an animal, we don't wanna waste our time, and we don't wanna ruin the meat. So it's like the pressure for this versus like, oh, we're gonna build something and screw that up and have to redo it. Totally different ballgame. So I would love to do it again. If we were like, hey, would you like to do it again? Here are my criteria. If we could do this again in a cool month with prepared plan, like we need a place for that meat to sit and hang. That's a lesson that we learned this time for a lot longer.
We want a cold room.
Yes. And also to remember, let it hang for a long time. Because even in that story of me leaving town, there were a lot of things that happened before then that that pushed the limit to the quality of the meat by the time we got to it. No butcher would have processed that meat as quickly as we did. I'd also just love someone to be like, yeah, here's where you put your knife for this cut. Here's the best tool for this thing. So a person who could walk us alongside of it, ensure that we safely process the meat and that we got the cuts that we wanted.
So we want to hire a professional butcher to come and do a workshop so that we and other people can learn. So having some pro, that's me. I'm with you.
Bougie?
No.
That's my thing.
I'm 1,000,000,000% with you. I don't think Ben, I know Justin. I don't know about Jason. Maybe he's that kind of guy. Like our friend here, Cody. Like if he had a bad experience, I love you, buddy. You had a bad experience. You did it for the first time all by yourself.
Same with us.
I feel we had a bad experience. These other people up in North Carolina, they don't do that.
Yeah.
They get someone who knows what they're doing to teach them. So those are my 3.
I think there are wins and losses on both sides of this. Butchering the 2 pigs off farm, sending them to someone to do is so convenient. It's so fast. But the more and more time we spend homesteading, aside from like, hey, it's really nice to have electricity. It's very good to have dishwashers and washing machines. We're not necessarily more centered, more grounded, more patient by just clipping things along for convenience sake. There are some places I want that to happen, but then when I think about our garden and like pulling weeds or going out there every day to tend it and to clip things, that slowness, that thoughtfulness changes like who you are. It changes the way you respond to things instead of a quick reaction when something is inconvenient. It teaches patience in a way that I don't think we get. Not that one is better or worse, but if we value patience, I think there's something really great about having the skill. Like everybody's gonna want us on their zombie team if we have a skill of butchering animals. But also there is a connectedness. We do so much work to raise these animals that there is a win in butchering them. There is such a win for the way that Missy went out, where she was dispatched so peacefully. I wish we could have honored the rest of that with the time and the skill that we had. So I would love, I mean, you're the one who's interested. I would love for you to have that hands-on partnership skill learning for us to be able to do that better.
That's deep. I love it. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I don't want to say this out loud, but I will. Because like, just so you know, this is how it is. I unloaded them into a small cage where they both barely fit, and they slept there in a cage for the night.
Yeah.
Then he did it at 5 o'clock in the morning. Their last 24 hours, like 12 hours of life was really bad. I hate that. I do not like that. Just so you know, I do not like that. I'm also trying to get to that point. Like, we gave them the best life, and yes, they had the 12 hours that was scary. I hate that. So, for me to butcher here on farm, again, so that we don't have to put animals into that situation, we need a professional come and help us. It needs to be in the right climate, we need to do it in the winter. We need a cold room. We need to have the equipment necessary. So we need a grinder. We were supposed to have a meat grinder. I feel like if we had that meat grinder, that would have been, it would have given us peace, because we would have said, we don't care about what we do with this meat. We can just grind it all.
Yeah. And
then at least we have the ground pork. We didn't have the meat grinder, and we ran out of time. And so we have frozen trim meat, it just was a bad experience. Then we had all these big giant roasts that we didn't know what to do with. We would have just turned that into sausage.
Yeah. We would have ground the whole pig.
That's our internal conversation that we're having. The hard thing is that we still have Bill, and he would be a very large, expensive, valuable pet. That if we're not going to breed him, then we need to figure out how to sell him. He needs a job. He's fantastic. I think I would like to take a year off of breeding and then maybe see if we can get a really big, fatty sow that would pair better with Bill.
I'm open to it. Come back to me in a year.
This has become a podcast, so thank y'all for hanging with us. So while we were sitting down, I forgot to say that Kelly was telling her North Carolina girlfriends the experience that we had, and Meg responded with, hey, in that, like, speaking of which, Ben and I were talking, we would like to invite you and Bo, or maybe just Bo, if Kelly can't get away with the whole family, for Bo to come up and take part of their hog butchering with Hand Hewn Farm in October.
Well, they're scheduled October, November, December, and then Hand Hewn comes in January. So technically, if we wanted to
so they're just running it themselves in the fall.
Well, who did we call? It was like our Ghostbusters moment. When we were in a pickle with Missy butchering ourselves, Bo's like, Ben, please FaceTime me. So he walked us through a ton. I think it would be good for you to go in October.
Yeah.
And then come back here. We do our own butchering of our chickens. And then go back in January and do
You gotta go back. Okay.
I think you should go to Hand Hewn.
I think it would be fun.
Yeah.
Also remember, we have our link down below to our Patreon where you can see the full experience of us processing Missy, like unedited, uncut, very raw
There's
experience.
a little bit of editing.
Oh my goodness.
Unfiltered.
It's, I don't know, it's raw over there. And you can even join as a free member to see all of the fresh and new content that we're posting over there every single week. And a special thank you to all of our patrons over there. Thank you for helping us keep the lights on here.